Okay, we're gonna start with a slip knot. So I hold the bottom with my thumb and pointer, and I hold the top with my middle and ring finger. So it looks like this. Then I make a heart with my thumb and pointer on my other hand. I go underneath this space right here, turn just my right hand facing down, and I make sure there's tension so none of this falls off. And I turn both of my hands together, and I take my right pointer and thumb and I go between my left pointer and middle finger because I want this yarn. I hold on to that, and then I pull my hands apart and it will cinch up. And get your hook, put it through the loop, and then push your knot up towards your hook. And we are going to chain 50. So you put your hook in front of the yarn, wrap it around once, and take that yarn through the first loop on your hook. Go in front of your yarn, wrap it around one time, and take that yarn through the first loop. And just keep doing that till you get up to 50. Okay, and in the third chain from the hook, you're going to do 3 double crochets. So you don't count this loop on your hook. That is the first chain from the hook, the second, and the third. And you're only gonna go under the top loops of these chains. In every single chain, you're only going under the top. So to do a double crochet, you wrap the yarn around first, then go into the chain, only under that top loop. Then go behind your yarn, pull it through just the chain, and you have 3 loops. You're going to wrap the yarn around and take that yarn through the first 2 loops. And you have 2 more loops on your hook. You're going to wrap the yarn around one time and take that yarn through these last 2 loops for 1 double crochet, and you need 3 total in the same space. So we need to do it 2 more times. So go in front of your yarn, wrap it around one time, go into this same chain, go behind your yarn, pull it through the chain. You have your 3 loops, wrap the yarn around, take that yarn only through the first 2 loops, and then wrap the yarn around again and take that yarn through the last 2 loops. And do it 1 more time. Wrap the yarn around, go into the same chain, go behind your yarn, pull it through the chain, 3 loops, wrap the yarn around, take it through 2, wrap the yarn around, and take it through the final 2. So 3 double crochets all in the same chain. You're going to go in the very next chain and do a slip stitch. So only under that top loop again. Go behind your yarn, pull it through the chain, and take that yarn through the first loop on your hook for 1 slip stitch. And you're going to slip stitch in the very next chain as well. So go in the next chain, under that top loop, go behind your yarn, pull it through your chain, and pull it through the first loop on your hook for 2 slip stitches. Now we're going to start the repeat pattern by chaining 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you're going to go in the same chain and do a slip stitch. Go into the chain, go behind your yarn, pull it through the chain, and take that yarn through the first loop. And you're going to slip stitch in the very next chain. Now you're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and slip stitch into the same chain. And into the very next chain. Now you're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and slip stitch into that same chain. And then slip stitch into the next chain. And you're going to repeat that all the way down your chain. You're going to start by chaining 5 again. 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch into the same chain. And slip stitch into the next chain. Chain 6. Five and 6. Slip stitch into the same chain. And in the next chain. Making sure your chains aren't twisted. Then you're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 6, and 7. Slip stitch into the same chain. And slip stitch into the next chain. And repeat that all over again. Chain 5. Slip stitch down into the same chain and in the next chain. And then you're going to chain 6 and 7 and so on. Just over and over and over all the way down. Super easy. And I will meet you at the very end. So once you start getting closer to your last chain, meet back up with me and I'll walk you through that. Okay, I am towards the end. I have my chain 7. I'm going to slip stitch into the same chain. And I have 1 chain left. I'm going to slip stitch there. Hold on. It's not much when there's little to grab onto when you get to the end. So slip stitch there. And I'm going to chain 5 as the final step. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then slip stitch down into the same chain. Now you can cut your yarn, and you do not need a long one because you are not weaving in these tails. And then just pull through, and this is what you're left with. Okay, so now you need your wire, and since mine doesn't have any green on it or any color, it's a complete bare wire. I want to cover it so you don't see any wire sticking out. And I'm going to use my Elmer's glue so I don't burn myself teaching, because I want to teach slower, and if you use hot glue, you got to work real fast. It dries instantly. So I have about 1 inch of glue. I'm going to lay my color yarn that I want in the opposite direction. So I'm going to wrap, going to the right, I'm going to wrap this yarn till I reach the end, keeping it snug. And then I'm going to go back down in the other direction. And even though this glue is not hardened yet, it's not going to go anywhere now. So just like that. So now I'm going to hold this section because I can grip it, and then I'm going to guide my yarn down this wire. And I nicked my wire, so as I attached my flowers, it kept adding up to 5.5 inches. Okay, I'm about 1 inch away from the nick that I created, so I'm going to attach my glue, and this is where you can attach your hot glue if you want. Just be careful, don't burn yourself. And then I'm gonna just continue spinning like before till I reach that spot. And I'm gonna hold it here for a second. Okay, I'm gonna cut my yarn. I don't want glue on my fabric scissors, so I'm just using regular scissors for that step. Okay, so now you need the lavender, and you want the top that you started with the 3 double crochets. And you're gonna put glue in the middle of those 3 double crochets. You're gonna take the top of your wire, place it there, and wrap those 3 double crochets around it. Okay, so it's been about a minute. It needs to dry a lot longer, but I'll just be really careful wrapping this. So you're gonna follow your beginning chains and just start wrapping. You can add glue along the stem or along those chains as you turn. I don't find it necessary, just glue at the top and the bottom is what I do. And you're gonna have to spin your chains as you go. You always want that continuous line of chains. Okay, I'm getting towards the end and I might be going past this original yarn that I wrapped. So I'm gonna put glue on what's left of that and then a little bit on the wire. And then I'll finish wrapping the flower. And then now I've reached my tails and I'm just going to wrap about 1/4 of an inch. About like that. And I'm gonna cut this yarn. Like that so far. Now you want your stem color. So I'm gonna add my glue over my tails. I'm going to lay about 1 inch in the other direction onto the glue. Okay, and then I'm gonna hold it right about here where I want it to start turning in the other direction. And then I'm going to start wrapping over that tail. As snug as I can get it. Okay, that looks pretty good. I've reached the end of that tail, so now I can just keep wrapping. And I don't have to attach glue unless you want to. Okay, I am towards the end with about 1 inch or more left, and I'm going to add my glue before I finish wrapping. And if that was hot glue, it had been dried before I even got to the end. So sometimes Elmer's glue is nicer that way. Then I'll just hold it here for a second. Cut my yarn. It wasn't done gluing, gosh darn it. Okay, it's been a few minutes and it's not unraveling, so I will let it continue to dry. I just won't mess with it too much, but this is what it looks like in the end. Isn't that so cute? So if you have a wire that is not covered at all and you need to cover it, then this is one of the methods. Hopefully you loved it and it was easy to follow, and you can crochet your own lavender bundles. Bye, crochet friends.